Hello and welcome to the classic Hollywood movie you should know. I'm Nate Washburn. This week the movie is from 1967, Cool Hand Luke, starring Paul Newman and George Kennedy, directed by Stuart Rosenberg. So the story of the movie is set in the 1950s. Paul Newman plays the character Luke, the title character. He gets arrested right in the beginning because he's drunk and he's cutting the tops of parking meters off. He's using a pipe cutter and just cutting the meters off. He ends up in a southern prison camp and becomes part of a chain gang. He befriends a character named Dragline, played by George Kennedy. Dragline's kind of the unofficial leader of the prisoners in this camp. And Luke, being a non-conformist, he sort of just throws the status quo out of whack. He helps the prisoners sort of keep their humanity and enjoy themselves even though they're in these inhuman conditions. And it's just sort of his way of keeping his spirit going even though he's in this virtual hell. And Paul Newman just, he really inhabits this role. I honestly couldn't really imagine another actor playing the character of Luke because he has almost this twinkle in his eye, and throughout the movie, Dragline references Cool Hand Luke's smile. He says it's the Lukey smile. And even at the end of the movie, when the climax has happened and some bad things have happened, Luke flashes this smile, this Paul Newman movie star smile, and it really makes this movie, and it's the charm and the charisma that Paul Newman has as an actor. Now there are a couple smaller roles too that are unbelievable and almost like scene stealing when they show up. There's an actress named Jo VanFleet who plays the character of Arletta. She is Luke's mother. She steals this scene. She shows up, she's Luke's neglectful mother. They have this conversation because she's sick, and it's her saying goodbye to her son, and it's one of the most memorable moments in this entire film. Now, Cool Hand Luke came out in 1967, and what's interesting about that, 1967 was a watershed year. It was a huge year in American history with the Vietnam Wars going on. It's like sort of the year of the hippie, the summer of love, and it's almost the death knell of old Hollywood. And this new Hollywood emerges out of the entire collapse of the studio system. And you have these new, more edgy movies that come out in this year, and Cool Hand Luke is one of that crop. 1967 is a fantastic year in Hollywood. Now, on top of Cool Hand Luke, you also have Bonnie and Clyde, you have The Graduate, In the Heat of the Night, which won Best Picture. These movies all sort of challenged what the older generation thought movies could be. And it sort of shook Hollywood to its core and ended what was left of the big studios. In fact, this is the year Camelot was made at Warner Brothers, and during the filming of Camelot, Jack Warner stepped down as the head of Warner Brothers. He was the last of the big major movie moguls from the early days of Hollywood who was still running a studio. Now, this movie was a huge hit. Audiences loved it, critics loved it. Budgeted at $3 million, it grossed over $16 million. And just to show that critics loved it, it has a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. When the Oscar nominations came out the following year, Cool Hand Luke got 4 nominations, including Best Actor for Paul Newman, which he unfortunately lost, and Best Supporting Actor for George Kennedy, which George Kennedy won Best Supporting Actor for his performance in Cool Hand Luke. And if you recognize George Kennedy in these pictures, that might be because, like me, you were a child of the 90s and you watched the Naked Gun movies. George Kennedy played Ed Hocken in the Naked Gun movies later in life. So if you enjoy movies about sort of rebellious characters who challenge authority, in the worst conditions possible, there's still a glimmer of hope, then check out Cool Hand Luke from 1967. It is one of my favorite movies, and it is this week's classic Hollywood movie you should know. I'm Nate Washburn. Keep watching.